Welcome back. I'm finished uploading. Not really got any break, but I did got 5 or 10 minutes. It's soon at 1 p.m. Let's try finish reading, but it's not always I can start the reading again. But I'm not touch anything. If you start to close the window up or down or do anything, then you cannot continue. You cannot continue reading. So I like this aircraft. This aircraft is very nice, and it looks very nice too. It's a very good looking aircraft, very aerodynamic. I will make a video about it in my language Danish when I'm finished reading.
On the 6th of December, 2011, test aircraft ZA006, 6787, powered by General Electric GEnx engines, flew 10,710 mi, 19,830 kilometers, 12,320 mi, non-stop from Boeing Field eastward to Shah Jalal International Airport in Dhaka, Bangladesh, setting a new world distance record for aircraft in the 787S weight class, which is between 440,000 and 550,000 pound, 200 and 250 t. This flight surpassed the previous record of 9,127 nautical miles, 16,903 kilometers, 10,503 mi, set in 2002 by an Airbus A330. The Dreamliner then continued eastbound from Dhaka to return to Boeing Field, setting a world circling speed record of 42 hours, 27 minutes. In December 2011, Boeing started a 6-month promotion 787 world tour, visiting various cities in China, Africa, the Middle East, Europe, United States, and others. In April 2012, an ANA 787 made a delivery flight from Boeing Field to Haneda Airport partially using biofuel from cooking oil. ANA surveyed 800 passengers who flew the 787 from Tokyo to Frankfurt. Expectations were surpassed for 90% of passengers. Features that met or exceeded expectations included air quality and cabin pressure, 90% of passengers, cabin ambience, 92% of passengers, higher cabin humidity levels, 80% of passengers, headroom, 40% of passengers, and the larger windows, 90% of passengers. 25% said they would go out of their way to again fly on the 787. After its first 6 months of service, Rolls-Royce-powered ANA aircraft were burning around 21% less fuel than the replaced 767-300 on international flights, slightly better than the 20% originally expected, and 15-20% on domestic routes, while GE-powered Japan Airlines aircraft were potentially slightly better. Other 787 operators have reported similar fuel savings, ranging from 20 to 22% compared with the 767-300. An analysis by consultant Air Insight concluded that United Airlines 787s achieved an operating cost per seat that was 6% lower than the Airbus A330. In November 2017, International Airlines Group Chief Willie Walsh said that for its budget carrier level the lower cost of ownership of its two A330-200 more than offsets the £13,000, 60, higher fuel burn, $3,500 on a Barcelona-Los Angeles flight. It would introduce 3 more A330s as there were not enough 787 pilots. Early operators discovered that if the APS 5000 auxiliary power unit was shut down with the inlet door closed, heat continued to build up in the tail compartment and cause the rotor shaft to bow. It could take up to 2 hours for the shaft to straighten again. This was particularly acute on short-haul flights as there was insufficient time to allow the unit to cool before a restart was needed. Procedures were modified and the APU was later redesigned to address the issue. On the 15th of September, 2012, the NTSB requested the grounding of certain 787s due to GE engine failures. GE believed the production problem had been fixed by that time. In December 2012, responding to unhappiness within the airline industry at the continuing issues affecting the aircraft, Boeing CEO James McNerney stated that he regretted the impact on passengers. He went on to say that the 787's issues had been no greater than those experienced with the introduction of other Boeing models such as the 777. In March 2014, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries informed Boeing of a new problem that was caused by a change in manufacturing processes. Employees did not fill gaps with shims to connect wing rib aluminum shear ties to the carbon composite wing panels. The tightened fasteners, without shims, cause excessive stress that creates hairline cracks in the wings, which could enlarge and cause further damage. 42 aircraft awaiting delivery were affected, and each required 1 to 2 weeks to inspect and repair. Boeing did not expect this problem to affect the overall delivery schedule, even if some airplanes were delivered late. Dispatch reliability is an industry standard measure of the rate of departure from the gate with no more than 15 minutes delay due to technical issues. The 787-8 started out with a 96% operational reliability, increasing to 98.5% in April 2015. Daily utilization increased from 5 hours in 2013 to 12 hours in 2014. Dispatch reliability grew to 99.3% in 2017. Airlines have often assigned the 787 to routes previously flown by larger aircraft that could not return a profit. For example, Air Canada offered a Toronto Pearson to New Delhi route, first utilizing a Lockheed L1011, then a Boeing 747-400, then an Airbus A340-300, but none of these types were efficient enough to generate profit. The airline operated the route profitably with a 787-9, and credits the right number of seats and greater fuel efficiency for this success. Up to the 30th of June, 2017, after 565 units were delivered since 2011, 60% minus 8, 340, and 40% minus 9, 225. The airports with most 787 departures are Haneda Airport with 304 weekly, Narita Airport with 276 and Doha Airport with 265. By the end of 2017, there were 39 airlines operating the 787 on 983 routes with an average length of 5,282 kilometers. 2,852 mi, 3,282 mi, including 163 new routes, 17%. As of the 24th of March, 2018, the 787's longest route is Qantas Perth London Heathrow, a distance of 14,499 kilometers. 7,829 mi, 9,009 mi, and the second longest regular scheduled flight behind Qatar Airways 14,529 kilometers, 7,845 mi, 9,028 mi, route from Doha to Auckland, flown with a Boeing 777-200LR. In March 2020, Air Tahiti Niue executed a record commercial flight of 9,765 mi, 8,486 mi, 15,715 kilometers, from Papeete to Paris Charles de Gaulle, on a route that would typically refuel at Los Angeles but was able to fly the Boeing 787-9 non-stop because it was nowhere near full due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2023, the first 787s to be withdrawn from commercial service, two 10-year-old -8s, were torn down by Irish company Trade Aviation, as they would otherwise have shortly required 12-year checks and landing gear overhauls. The used parts were in high demand amid the post-pandemic global shortage. There is no obvious recycling path for the carbon composite airframe. Variants, edit. The shortest Dreamliner variant, the 787-8 was the first variant to fly in December 2009. Then the longer 787-9 in September 2013, followed by the longest variant, the 787-10, in March 2017. These variants are called B788, B789, and B78X, respectively in the list of ICAO aircraft type designators. The short-range 787-3 was cancelled in 2010. 787-8, edit. With a typical capacity of 248 passengers and a range of 7,305 nautical miles, 13,529 kilometers, 8,406 mi, the 8 is the base model of the 787 family and was the first to enter service in 2011. The 787-8 is targeted to replace the Boeing 767-200 and Airbus A330-200, as well as expand into new non-stop markets where larger planes would not be economically viable. As of January 2023, approximately 26% of 787 orders are for the 787-8 with 386 delivered. In 2018, Boeing said it would change the 8 manufacturing to raise its commonality with the 9 above the current 30% to be more like the 95% commonality between the 9 and 10, as it will benefit from learning from those. When it was launched, a new 787-8 was to cost only slightly more than the 767-300, valued new for $85 million at its 1990s peak, but it ended being 20% more costly. It competes with the Airbus A330-800. 787-9, edit. Keeping the same wingspan as the 787-8, the 787-9 is a lengthened and strengthened variant with a 20 feet, 6.1 m, longer fuselage and a 54,500 pounds, 24,700 kilograms, higher maximum takeoff weight, MTO, seating 296 passengers in a typical two-class cabin configuration over a 7,565 nautical miles, 8,706 mi, 14,010 kilometers, range. It features active boundary layer control on the tail surfaces, reducing drag. The 787-9 is targeted to replace the Boeing 767-300 and Airbus A330-300. It competes with the Airbus A330-900. In 2005, the entry into service, EIS, was planned for 2010. The firm configuration was finalized on the 1st of July 2010. By October 2011, deliveries were scheduled to begin in 2014. The prototype 787-9 made its maiden flight from Payne Field on the 17th of September 2013. By the 8th of November 2013, it had flown 141 hours. A 787-9 was on static display at the 2014 Farnborough Air Show prior to first delivery. On the 8th of July 2014, launch customer Air New Zealand took its first 787-9 in a distinctive black livery in a ceremony at Payne Field. The first revenue service was operated by All Nippon Airways on the 7th of August 2014. Air New Zealand operating its first commercial flight from Auckland to Sydney on the 9th of August 2014. The longer 787-9, 206 feet, 63 m, was introduced by Air New Zealand on the 9th of August 2014. The 787-9 was to begin commercial service with All Nippon Airways on the 7th of August 2014. United Airlines was to start the longest non-stop scheduled 787 service between Los Angeles and Melbourne in October 2014. Air China started a 787-9 route between Beijing and Chengdu in May 2016. As of January 2023, 63% of all 787 orders are for the 787-9, with 580 deliveries. A 2014 787-9 leased for $1.05 million per month, and fell to $925,000 per month in 2018. The 20-foot, 6.1 m, stretch was achieved by adding 10-foot, 3.0 m, 5-frame, extensions forward and aft of the wing. The 787-8 and 787-9 have 50% commonality: the wing, fuselage and systems of the 787-8 had required radical revision to achieve the payload range goals of the 787-9. Following a major revamp of the original 787-8 wing, the latest configuration for the 787-9 and 10 is the fourth design evolution. On the 25th of March, 2018, a Qantas 787-9 completed the first scheduled non-stop flight between Australia and the UK, flying 17 hours from Perth to London Heathrow. On the 20th of October, 2019, a Qantas 787-9 was flight tested from New York to Sydney with a restricted payload. A team of researchers monitored passengers and crew to investigate wellness and performance on long flights. On the 16th of March, 2020, an Air Tahiti NUA 787-9 achieved the longest commercial flight of 8,485 mi, 15,714 kilometers, 9,764 mi. 787-10, edit. In December 2005, pushed by the interest of Emirates and Qantas, Boeing was studying the possibility of stretching the 787-9 further to seat 290 to 310 passengers. This variant would be similar to the capacity of the Boeing 777-200 and the Airbus A350-900, although with a shorter range. Customer discussions were continuing in early 2006. Mike Baer, Boeing's Vice President and General Manager for the 787 development program at the time, said it was easier to proceed with the 787-10 development after other customers followed Emirates' request. This variant is targeted to replace the Boeing 767-400 and Airbus A330-300. On the 30th of May, 2013, Singapore Airlines became the launch customer by stating it would order 3787-10s, provided Boeing launched the program, to be delivered in 2018-2019. On the 18th of June, 2013, Boeing officially launched the 787-10 at the Paris Air Show, with orders or commitments for 102 aircraft from Air Lease Corporation, 30, Singapore Airlines, 30, United Airlines, 20, British Airways, 12, and GE Capital Aviation Services, 10. As of January 2023, the aircraft has 189 orders, out of which 115 have been delivered, 7 of which are stored. This variant was envisioned as replacing Boeing 777-200 and Airbus A340-500 aircraft. It competes with the Airbus A350-900, and according to Boeing, it offers better economics than its Airbus competitor on shorter routes. Stephen Udvar-Hazy said, if it's identically configured, the 10 has a little bit of an edge on the 900, but smaller than Boeing's estimate of 10%. The 787-10 is 224 feet, 68 m, long, seats 336 passengers in a two-class cabin configuration, and has a range of 6,313 mi, 11,720 kilometers, 7,280 mi. Boeing completed detailed design for the 10 on the 2nd of December, 2015. Major assembly began in March 2016. Designers targeted 90% commonality between the 787-9 and 10 and achieved 95%. The 18-foot, 5.5 m, stretch was reached by adding 10 feet forward of the wing and 8 feet aft, and by strengthening the fuselage for bending loads in the center wing box. Because of the length and additional tail strike protection needed, a semi-levered landing gear enables rotation over the aft wheels rather than at the bogie center, like the 777-300, and the cabin air conditioning system has 15% more capacity. The first and third 10 test platforms incorporate Rolls-Royce's new Trent 1010 engines, while the second is powered by the competing General Electric GX 1B engine. Major fuselage parts were received for final assembly on the 30th of November, 2016. The 787-10's mid-fuselage sections are too large for transport to Everett, Washington, and it is built only in Charleston, South Carolina. It is the first Boeing airliner assembled exclusively there. The first 10 was rolled out on the 17th of February, 2017. The variant's first flight took place on the 31st of March, 2017, and lasted 4 hours and 48 minutes. The first test 787-10 aircraft is engaged in flight envelope expansion work, and the second joined the program in early May, 2017, while the third with a passenger cabin interior to test the uprated environmental control system and Trent fuel burn performance was scheduled to join in June. The 10 was scheduled to appear at the 2017 Paris Air Show. The second 10 is being used to prove the GE Aviation engines, and the third made its first flight on the 8th of June, 2017, when the flight test program was 30% complete. Boeing finished final assembly and painting of the first production 787-10 in October 2017, before its certification. The last stages of flight tests focused on fuel burn validation and revised flight control software. At the start of the November 2017 Dubai Air Show, the 787-10 had 171 orders. Emirates committed to 4787-10s, in 2 and 3 class cabins for 240 to 330 passengers, to be delivered from 2022 and with conversion rights to the smaller 787-9. These aircraft are adapted for 7 8.5-hour missions, in a 280-seat 3-class layout. Emirates' Tim Clark was doubtful it would meet its motto for the payload range required with initial 70,000 72,000 lbf, 310-320 kN, thrust engines, but with the current 76,000 lbf, 340 kN, turbofans and the 9 early margins gave the 10 stellar economics. By early 2019, Emirates was considering cancelling its 787-10 order, due to engine margins being insufficient for the hot Dubai weather, in favour of the Airbus A350, which would also replace its last Airbus A380 order. At the 2019 Dubai Air Show, Emirates placed an order for 3787-9 aircraft rather than the 787-10. In January 2018, the 10 was certified by the FAA after testing for 900 flight hours. Boeing received its production certificate on the 15th of February. It was first delivered to launch customer Singapore Airlines on the 25th of March 2018. Fitted with 337 seats, 36 in business and 301 in economy, the 10 began commercial service on the 3rd of April 2018. The 8.7% fuselage stretch from the 9 to the 10 likely increased empty weight at a lower rate than the 7.4% growth from the 8 to the 9 due to the 10.7% stretch. Software changes increased the tailplane effectiveness to avoid modifying it. With the same wing but a longer fuselage than the 9, the flutter margin was reduced for the 10, but to avoid stiffening the wing or adding wingtip counterweights for commonality, software oscillates the elevators in the flaps up vertical mode suppression system, F0VMS, similar to the vertical gust load alleviation system. To replace Air New Zealand's 777-200 fleet, Boeing wants to increase the 787-10 by over £13,000, £5.90, to £572,000, £259, with some reinforcements and updated fuel systems. This would allow more range, such as the 5,600 mi, 10,400 kilometers, 6,400 mi, trip from Auckland to Los Angeles with no passenger restrictions and some cargo. The increased performance could trickle down to the 787-9, allowing Auckland to New York flights. BBJ 787, edit. The 787-8 and 9 are offered as Boeing business jets, the first offering 2,415 square feet, 224.4 m, of floor space and a range of 9,945 mi, 18,418 kilometers, 11,445 mi. The other 2,775 square feet, 257.8 m, and 9,485 mi, 17,566 kilometers, 10,915 mi, both with 25 passengers. Through June 2018, 15 have been ordered, 12 delivered and 4 were in service. Experimental, edit. Main article, Echo Demonstrator. 2 787 aircraft have been used in Boeing's Echo Demonstrator program, which aims to develop technology and techniques to reduce the environmental effects of aviation. The testing involves many partner organizations including engine and systems manufacturers, NASA, academic, research, and regulatory institutions. The program started in 2011 with a different airframe being used each year. In 2014, the fourth prototype 787-8 was used for tests including use of sustainable aviation fuel, ceramic matrix composite engine exhaust nozzles, and systems for improved air traffic control, ATC, communications and closer landing approach spacing. In 2020, a new 787-10